Bugs Bunny in Memorial Stadium on Wednesday night as the Orioles lose 7-4 to the Toronto Blue Jays. Dave Stieb getting his first ever win in Baltimore. The Orioles got 4 runs in the first inning but could do nothing after that. First, it's Cal Ripken picking up 2 RBIs with a single scoring Brady Anderson and Randy Milligan. That made it 2-0 Baltimore. Then later in the bottom of the first inning, Joe Orsulak picked up his 48th RBI in the year with a single to score Sam Horn. That made it 3-0 Baltimore, as it looked like they would knock Stieb out of the game, but he stayed in there and went 6 innings to improve his record to 14-3 on the season. Craig Worthington came up later in the inning and made it 4-0 as he singled to left field. Cal Ripken scored on Worthington's 48th RBI, and Toronto trailed 4-0 after 1 inning. There were lots of delays in this game, as here in the second inning, home plate umpire Mark Johnson felt something pull on that pitch, and he was forced to leave the game with a muscle pull. There was a 12-minute delay as Ken Kaiser went to the dugout to get a chest protector. After the bottom of the second inning ended, there was another delay as Cito Gaston came out to argue between innings, and before the top of the third inning could get underway, he was sent to the showers by umpire Larry Young, who ejected him from the game. Ron Kittle sitting back and relaxing as the game took a very slow pace. A single by Manny Lee pulled the Blue Jays to within 4-1. Then in the top of the fourth inning, Fred McGriff would hit a sky shot to right field that goes over the fence. His 24th home run in the year, a 2-run shot, scoring George Bell. RBI number 60 pulled the Blue Jays to within 4-3 in the top of the fourth inning. Fans getting hungry at Baltimore as this game took about 3.5 hours to complete. Here in the top of the fifth inning, Glenn Allen Hill would tie the game at 4 as he knocks Mickey Weston out of the game with a solo home run to left field. His 10th home run in the year, RBI number 24, and the game was tied at 4 in the top of the fifth inning. Dave Stieb allowed 3 hits in the first inning, but then allowed only 2 more as he left after 6 innings, picking up the victory. Here he throws a nasty curveball to Brady Anderson, ending the bottom of the 6th inning. In the top of the 7th inning, the Blue Jays would rally with 2 outs. First, a funny play as Glenn Allen Hill hit one down the right field line. Billy Ripken makes a long run, but then he overruns it and falls down. The winning hit came off the bat of Kelly Gruber, a 2-out double off reliever Mark Williamson, who came in to pitch to Gruber. He drills one into the left field gap, scoring Mookie Wilson and Tony Fernandez to make it 6-4. John Olerud added a home run to make the final 7-4 Toronto. Stieb, the winner, is 14-3. His first win in Baltimore after going 0-5 in 14 lifetime appearances there. Jeff Ballard took the loss. He fell to 1-10. Henke got his 300-game winner Nolan Ryan and his Texas Rangers return home to Arlington on Thursday night, and they come away with a 5-4 victory over the Toronto Blue Jays in 11 innings. In the bottom of the second inning, the Rangers got on the board first as Gary Pettis picked up an RBI with a triple down the left field line. Gary Green came in to score, and the Rangers led it 1-0 in the bottom of the second inning. Right after that triple by Gary Pettis, a lot of hard rain started to fall. As you can see, the raindrops quite big in Texas, and the players were forced to leave as the tarp came out, but the rain delay was under a half an hour, and play soon resumed in the bottom of the second inning, although it didn't cool things off much. A sacrifice fly by Rafael Palmeiro later in the bottom of the second inning made it 2-0 Texas, but in the top of the fifth inning, the Toronto Blue Jays would tie the score at 2 as George Bell hit a 2-run homer to left field, his 20th on the year, scoring Tony Fernandez, and that would tie the game at 2 in the top of the fifth inning as Nolan Ryan looked on from the dugout. Kevin Brown had 6 strikeouts through the first 6 innings, but he did not figure in the decision. Here in the top of the 6th inning, he strikes out Manny Lee for the second time in the game. The Blue Jays would threaten later in the top of the 6th inning as Glenn Allen Hill hit a single to left center field, but a great throw by Gary Pettis, who would nail Greg Myers at the plate. John Russell applies a tag, and the game remains tied at 2. In the bottom of the 6th inning, the Rangers get a big break to go ahead 4-2 as Jimmy Key delivers to Steve Buechele. Looks like a routine fly to right field, but Glenn Allen Hill and Mookie Wilson cross signals. It's an error on Hill, allowing Ruben Sierra and John Russell to score, and the Rangers led 4-2 on the big error in right field. In the top of the 9th inning with the score 4-3 and 1 out, Mookie Wilson would tie the game as he hit a solo home run to left field, only his 2nd home run of the season, his first right-handed, and that would tie the game at 4, sending it to extra innings. Almost lost in the shuffle was a perfect relief job by Dwayne Ward as he came in the 6th inning for the Blue Jays and retired all 12 Ranger batters he faced. There in the bottom of the 10th inning, he strikes out Jeff Houston, who's a little bit upset. Ward had a career-high 7 strikeouts, but did not figure in the decision as Texas got a run in the bottom of the 11th inning off John Candelaria. With 2 outs, Steve Buechele got a game-winning single to center field as Mookie Wilson can't come up with the ball. Gary Pettis, who had doubled, came in to score. Texas wins it 5-4 in 11 innings. Brad Arnsberg, the winner, is 5-1. Candelaria fell to 7-4.
On Saturday night in Arlington, Texas, Toronto Blue Jays are in town to take on the Texas Rangers. Cito Gaston trying to rally his troops, and in the top of the third, Kelly Gruber would hit a sacrifice fly to right field. Ruben Sierra under it would make the catch and fire home, but Mookie Wilson would tag up and score, and that would give the Blue Jays a 1-0 lead early. For Gruber, that was RBI number 78 on the season. Texas part owner George Bush Jr. was on hand tonight to watch his team, and in the bottom of the fifth, off Toronto pitcher David Wells, Rafael Palmeiro will hit this line shot down the first base line. Ball will roll into the corner, and Julio Franco will round third and come in to score. This will give Texas a 2-1 lead. For Palmeiro, it'll be RBI number 64, tying his career high. Here in the bottom of the seventh, Cito Gaston trying to fire up his troops would get thrown out arguing with home plate umpire Dale Scott, but this would come to no avail because in the bottom of the inning with 1 out and bases full of Rangers, Steve Buechele would step up and drill his first career grand slam to deep left field off Toronto pitcher Jim Acker. For Buechele, that would be home run number 5 on the season to go along with 22 RBIs. Buechele would be congratulated at home plate by his teammates, and here's another look of Buechele's home run swing. And here in the top of the ninth, Texas pitcher Jamie Moyer would go the distance, would strike out Fred McGriff for the final out. Texas would go on to beat Toronto 9-1. Jamie Moyer gets the win. He's 1-3. David Wells takes the loss. He's now.
Nolan Ryan makes his first start since winning his 300th career game in Milwaukee on Tuesday night as he returns to Arlington Stadium in Texas on Sunday to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. But not a good start for Ryan, as in the top of the first he faces Kelly Gruber, and his pitch hits Gruber in the head. Fortunately for the Jays third baseman, it was an off-speed pitch, but the Jays score a run in the inning to take a 1-0 lead. And Ryan would be watched by Rangers general partner George Bush Jr. on the left and longtime Texas Senator John Tower. Then in the top of the second, this Ryan wild pitch would enable Rance Mulliniks to score, and it's 2-0 Blue Jays. Then it would be Mookie Wilson who would deliver this single to right field, and this would score Luis Sojo, and the Jays take a 3-0 lead on a sloppy Arlington Stadium field. In the top of the fourth, Sojo hits this pop fly to right field. A great running over-the-shoulder catch, though, made by first baseman Rafael Palmeiro. Then on the bottom of the fourth, after Mike Stanley drives in a run with a double, this is Steve Buechele, who hits a 2-run home run, his 6th of the year. This comes off Jays starter John Cerruti and ties the score at 3 apiece. But in the top of the 6th, the Blue Jays retake the lead. John Olerud would double off Palmeiro's glove, and this would score Fred McGriff, and Toronto takes a 4-3 lead. The Jays go on to win by the final score of 6-4, handing Ryan his 268th career loss and snapping the Rangers' winning streak at 6 games as Ryan loses for the first time since June 16th. He would allow 12 hits in this game, the second highest total of his major league career, and most since he allowed 12 back in 1978. He allowed 13 in 1973. Tom Henke nails down his 23rd save by striking out Pete Incaviglia to end it. 6-4, Jays win. Cerruti the winner, 8-7. Ryan the loser, 11-5.
Easy, didn't it? George Bell at bat, facing Charlie Huff. Bell flies out to center field. Luis Sojo scores from third, and the Jays take an early 2-0 lead. But the Rangers fight back. Bottom of the third, 2-on. Julio Franco doubles off Dave Steve to left. Gino Petralli and Gary Pettis score, and we're tied at 2. Franco passes the 50 RBI mark, and then Rafael Palmeiro having a great year. Doubles to the right center field wall. Scoring Julio Franco, it's 3-2 Texas. The Rangers pad their lead as Steve Buechele lays down the bunt. The suicide squeeze, scoring Harold Baines. And that would prove to be the winning run as Texas holds off Toronto by a score of 4-3. The Rangers have won 7 of the last 8, including 4 of 5 from Toronto. Kenny Rogers, by God, picked up his 11th save for the Texas Rangers. Somehow, some...
Top of the fourth inning, great defensive play by the Blue Jays. Tony Fernandez with the fine range on Gary Ward's ground ball through to Manny Lee for the fancy 6-4-3 double play. Nice play started by Toronto shortstop Tony Fernandez. In the bottom of the fourth inning, Detroit reliever Frank Tanana with a strange pitch. As he stoned and threw a pitch behind Rance Mulliniks' back, Mike Heath saved the run with the catch. The Blue Jays won by a score of 11-5. On the top of the ninth inning, Tigers made things interesting with back-to-back home runs. First, Alan Trammell sent Jimmy Key's first pitch of the 9th inning over the left field wall for his 8th home run of the season, and the score was 11-3. Then Cecil Fielder belted Key's next pitch for his 35th home run, and the score was 11-4 Toronto. Then an off-camera home run by Gary Ward made the score 11-5. That was the final. Jimmy Key got the win. He's 7-5. Jack Morris took the loss. He's 9-14. The Blue Jays took on Tony Phillips and the Detroit Tigers in the bottom of the first inning. Phillips made a fine defensive play as he made a diving stop on Tony Fernandez's ground ball up the middle and threw him out 4-3. This saved the run as Mookie Wilson went from second to third. He would have scored on the play. Later in the first, the Tigers got out of the inning when John Shell made a fine running catch on George Bell's fly ball to short left field. Nice catch by the center fielder. In the bottom of the second inning, Toronto got on the board when Fred McGriff belted a solo home run to left field off Detroit starter Walt Terrell. It was McGriff's 25th home run and 62nd RBI, and the Blue Jays led 1-0. An error by Phillips made the score 2-0. Then still in the bottom of the second, Tony Fernandez grounded a single to right field that knocked in Pat Borders, and the Blue Jays led 3-0. It was Fernandez's 43rd RBI this season. And a funny play later on in the game on the foul ball by Alan Trammell down the first base line. This fan with a glove keeps it in play, but he blows it, and his buddy snagged the ball from him. And as you all know, there was no establishing shot on this package, but there's a beautiful shot of the Sky Dome all lit up during the top of the fourth inning. In the top of the fourth inning, Toronto starter David Wells struck out Darnell Coles to begin the inning. His third strikeout of the game. He picked up the win in this game to raise the record to 8-3 this season. In the top of the fifth inning, though, his right fielder Kelly Gruber, who's normally a third baseman, misplayed a ball out in right field, and this allowed a run to score for Detroit. Chelem with the fly ball at right field, and the ball bounced in just in front of Gruber, and Gary Ward scored all the way from first base, cutting the Toronto lead to 4-2 in the top of the fifth inning. And then the top of the seventh inning, a Morgana lookalike, Lulu, who advertised herself as being 95 Triple F, went onto the field and started kissing and hugging Toronto reliever Dwayne Ward. And when she was escorted off the field, she shook for the crowd. Some good, clean fun in Toronto. In the bottom of the seventh inning, back-to-back home runs for the Blue Jays capped the game. First, Glenn Allen Hill with the solo home run to left field off Paul Gibson, his 11th of the season, and the Blue Jays led 7-3 in the bottom of the seventh inning. The next batter was Pat Borders, and Borders picked up his third RBI of the game as he belted a solo home run to left field. It was his 13th home run. The Blue Jays led 8-3. That was the final. David Wells got the win. He's 8-3, and Walt Terrell got the loss. He's 0-1.
Friday night in Toronto, the Minnesota Twins in town to take on the Blue Jays. Bottom of the first inning with 2 outs and 2 on. Fred McGriff up against David West, and he'll hit this hard double into the left center field gap. That scores Kelly Gruber and George Bell. RBIs number 65 and 66 for McGriff as he ends up with the 2 RBI double. It was 2-0 Toronto. Shane Mack made it 2-1 in the top of the second inning. Then in the bottom of the second inning, a great play coming up here by Shane Mack as he runs down this foul pop-up by Junior Felix. Makes a great grab as the ball boy gets out of the way, and he makes a nice catch, and that ended the bottom of the second inning. Top of the third inning, Tony Fernandez turns in some stellar D. Gary Gaetti, the batter. There's Fernandez with the dive and the flip to Manny Lee as he gets Kirby Puckett on the force for the second out in the inning. And this guy got this great play by Kent Herbeck because they didn't have it live. The batter is Glenn Allen Hill, and Herbeck makes a great catch to end the inning.
Folks, this is what they look like. They are, and these are $6 a piece, is that right?
Twins announcer Dick Bremer shelling out $12 for 2 dogs. Top of the seventh inning, 1 on and none out. Shane Mack takes John Cerruti deep to right field for his 6th home run of the season as Kent Herbeck was aboard. RBIs number 22 and 23, and it tied the game at 3 apiece. Still in the top of the seventh inning now with Frank Wills in to pitch with 2 outs. Kirby Puckett will single into right field. That scores Carmen Castillo. Nelson Liriano moves over to second base. RBI number 65 for Puckett. The Twins had a 4-3 lead as Mark Whitten threw that one a long ways. Next batter up following Puckett was Gary Gaetti. So with Liriano and Puckett aboard, Gaetti will send this one out into left center field. A 3-run homer as George Bell jumps and just barely misses the ball. Home run number 13 for Gaetti. RBIs number 62, 63, and 64. That gave Minnesota a 7-3 lead. And that would be the final as David West would get his 2nd Major League complete game victory. So he goes 9 innings, allowing only 6 hits, striking out 5 and walking 1. Here he gets Pat Borders to hit one right back to him. David West throws over to Kent Herbeck, and the Twins win it 7-3. West is now 6-7. John Cerruti takes the loss. He's 8-8, and the Twins win it 7-3 on Friday night.
American League second-place teams meeting in Chicago Monday night. Blue Jays, White Sox, and Alex Fernandez celebrating his 21st birthday with a start for Chicago. Fernandez gets Greg Myers looking here in the top of the second inning. He had 3 strikeouts through the first 3. There was no score after 3. Bottom of the fourth, White Sox take a 1-0 lead. Sammy Sosa with this single to center field, scoring Frank Thomas from second base. RBI 51 for Sosa, 1-0 Chicago. Fernandez in the top of the fifth would make a rookie mistake on this pickoff attempt at first. Into the stands it goes. Junior Felix at first. Greg Myers comes in to score, and it's 1-1. It would remain 1-1 until the bottom of the 8th inning. That's when Lance Johnson would come up, the runner on second. He will triple down the right field line. Ozzie Guillen comes in to score. RBI 43 for Johnson, 2-1 White Sox. Still in the bottom of the 8th, and Frank Thomas, the batter. Thomas with this single into right center field, scoring Johnson on the play. RBI 5 for Thomas, 3-1 Sox. Blue Jays would come back, however, in the top of the 9th inning. John Olerud starting things off, getting his 44th RBI on the season with this single to center field, scoring Freddie McGriff. 3-2, White Sox still in front. McGriff beating the throw off target. Mookie Wilson then would come up, and Wilson would come through with pinch runner Kenny Williams at third. Nice play by Ozzie Guillen, but the White Sox can't turn the double play. Williams scores. RBI 28 for Wilson. We are tied at 3. Still in the top of the 9th. All these runs off of Sox reliever Bobby Thigpen, and it's Junior Felix with the game winner to center field. RBI 47 for Felix. Wilson scored. He had stolen second base to get into scoring position, and the Blue Jays would win it 4-3. Tom Hankey coming on in relief in the 9th to get his 25th save, getting Phil Bradley there. Dwayne Ward, 2-6, gets the win in relief. Bobby Thigpen drops to 4-5.
Chicago White Sox on Tuesday play host to Cedar Gaston and the second-place Toronto Blue Jays. Top of the first inning, Kelly Gruber with a base hit to center field scores Junior Felix, 1-0 Toronto. Gruber matches a career-high season RBI total with 81. It's 4-0 Toronto in the top half of the 5th inning when Kelly Gruber steps to the plate one more time. He gets a triple to center field that goes over Lance Johnson's head. Junior Felix and Tony Fernandez score. RBIs 82 and 83 for Gruber. A new career high for him. 6-0 Toronto as Gruber winds up at third base with a triple. George Bell hits his 3rd sacrifice fly on the night as he scores Gruber with this fly out to center field. The 3 sac flies ties a Major League record, 7-0 Toronto. Still in the 5th, Fred McGriff will hit his 27th home run, a solo shot to the opposite field, and this would give the Toronto Blue Jays an 8-0 lead, and that's where they lead it after 4.5 innings. Move now all the way to the top half of the 7th inning. Glenn Allen Hill will unload for a grand slam. Home run number 12 for Glenn Allen Hill, his 2nd career grand slam. RBIs 28, 29, 30, and 31 as he picks up Gruber, Bell, and Pat Borders. And they gave the Blue Jays a 12-0 lead. Todd Stottlemyre was the beneficiary of all these runs here back in the 4th inning. He strikes out Carlton Fisk. Stottlemyre worked 7 innings of 2-hit ball for the Blue Jays and left with the score 12-0. Move now to the bottom of the 9th inning. Ron Karkovice would break up the shutout against Jim Acker as he gets a base hit that scores Vaughn Calderon. 12-1 Toronto. Jim Acker gave up 5 straight hits to the Chicago White Sox. The Blue Jays go on to win 12-4. Stottlemyre, the winner, he's 11-13, while Greg Hibbert drops to 9. George Bell and the Toronto Blue Jays take on the Twins. Bottom of the 2nd inning, Dave Stieb, the starter for the Blue Jays, gets Randy Johnson on the big breaking ball in the outside corner, and Bush is strikeout victim number 3 for Stieb. Top of the 4th inning, Greg Myers will get the Blue Jays on the board with a base hit to center field. Fred McGriff rounds third base and scores, and the Blue Jays lead 1-0. Still in the top half of the 4th inning, Junior Felix will get a ground ball base hit to right field that goes in the hole between first and second base. Myers comes around to score from second base. RBI 49 for Felix, and the Blue Jays lead this game 2-0. That's the way it would stand until the bottom half of the 7th inning. The Twins will finally get on the board as Randy Bush will get a line drive base hit to right center field off of reliever Dwayne Ward. Kirby Puckett scores. RBI 16 for Randy Bush, and the Toronto Blue Jays lead 2-1 through 7. Top of the 9th inning, 3-1 Toronto. Fred McGriff will crush a 2-run homer to left field off of Juan Berenguer.
his 28th home run. He picks up George Bell, RBI 70 and 71 for McGriff. The Blue Jays lead 5-1. That would be the final score in the bottom of the ninth inning. Dwayne Ward gets Kent Herbeck to ground out to end the ball game. Blue Jays win 5-1. Dave Stieb, the winner, he's 16-4. He's won 5 of his last 6 games. He's 3-0 versus the Twins this year. Scott Erickson, the loser, he's 3-3. Ward picks up his 9th save as the Blue Jays move within a game of the Red Sox in the AL East.
Ball action from the Twin Cities in Minnesota, from the west side of the Mississippi in Minneapolis. At the Metrodome, Cito Gaston and the Toronto Blue Jays in town to take on those last place Minnesota Twins. Bottom of the first inning, 1 on, 1 out. Nelson Liriano bounces this Jimmy Key pitch to Tony Fernandez. He throws over to first, and then Fred McGriff throws over to Luis Sojo, who tags Dan Gladden out for the 6-3-5 double play. That was the first and second out of the bottom of the first. Top of the fourth, Toronto scores 3 times with 1 on and none out. Glenn Allen Hill will triple off of Alan Anderson in right center field. That scores Pat Borders from second base. Glenn Allen Hill's 32nd RBI of the season, and the Blue Jays are up 1-0. The next batter up is Manny Lee, and he will double down the left field line, and that'll bring home Glenn Allen Hill. Lee's 29th RBI of the season, this one coming off of Alan Anderson also. That made it 2-0 Toronto. Well, they weren't done yet after Luis Sojo lined out for the first out in the inning. Next batter up after Sojo would be Willie Wilson, and he'll single into right field. That'll score Manny Lee from second base as he slides home, and Willie Wilson goes to second on the throw, as it's not in time as he slides past Brian Harper, and it's 3-0 Toronto after 4. Jimmy Key got the win in this one as he went 7 innings, allowing only 4 hits to run his record to 8-6. Here in the bottom of the 6th inning, he strikes out Greg Gagne. Gagne's 5th strikeout victim in the game. Tom Henke got his 26th save as he got out of a jam here to end the game with Kirby Puckett at third and Gary Gaetti at first. He gets Brian Harper to ground into this 5-4-3 double play to end it. The final 3-0 Toronto. Alan Anderson takes the loss. He's 5-16 now. And the Blue Jays pull into a first-place tie with the Boston Red Sox in the AL. And these days, as on Sunday, the Toronto Blue Jays completed a 3-game sweep with a 9-1 win over the Minnesota Twins. David Wells got the victory in this one to run his record to 9-3. Here in the bottom of the first, he struck out the side as he strikes out Kirby Puckett there to end it. Top of the second inning, 1 on and none out. Great play coming up here by Twins third baseman Al Newman as Pat Borders hits this shot down the line, but Al Newman with the backhand stab and turns the 5-4-3 double play. And here's one more look as Al Newman backhands the ball, fires over to Nelson Liriano, who throws down to Gene Larkin for the out. That was the first and second out of the inning. In the bottom of the 6th, Minnesota takes a 1-0 lead, 1 out and 1 on. Kirby Puckett lines this single off of Wells into right center field. That scores Dan Gladden, RBI number 69 for Puckett, and the Twins led it 1-0. But in the top of the 7th, Toronto erupts for 6 runs thanks to 3 Twins errors with 2 on and 1 out. Mark Guthrie, the pitcher. Luis Sojo bunts it. Guthrie throws wild to Gene Larkin. The ball gets by everybody. Glenn Allen Hill and Manny Lee score on the 2-base error by Guthrie, and the Jays led it 2-1. Well, after an infield single by Williams, Mookie Wilson, the batter now, and he'll line this double down the third base line past Al Newman. Scoring on the play are Sojo and Williams. That made it 4-1 on Wilson's 30th and 31st RBIs of the season. They added 2 more runs in the inning to make it 6-1. Then in the top of the 8th, they add 3 more runs with 2 on and 1 out. Jack Savage, the pitcher for the Twins. Mookie Wilson, the batter again, and he'll triple down the first base line. Rance Mullenix and Williams will score. RBIs number 32 and 33 for Wilson. That made it 8-1. Tony Fernandez added a ground out to make it 9-1. So Mookie Wilson with 4 RBIs in the game. Toronto wins it 9-1 over the Twins. The Jays sweep the 3-game series. Wells gets the win. He's 9-3, and Mark Guthrie takes the loss. He's 4-6.
With all that was happening with the Yankees front office today, there still was a game to be played at Yankee Stadium. In the top of the first, George Bell singles to left field to score Junior Felix from second base. That was RBI number 76 for George Bell, and the Blue Jays lead 1-0. We go to the bottom of the first, and Oscar Azocar doubles down the left field line, scoring Roberto Kelly, and that makes the score 1-1. And the Yankees go ahead 4-1 on this Kevin Moss blast into the right field seats. For Moss, that was his 28th RBI and his 15th home run of the season. It scored Mel Hall, and the Yankees lead 4-1. After an RBI double by Mookie Wilson and an RBI single by George Bell, the Blue Jays were back in the game 4-3. And then Mookie Wilson would come up again in the top of the fourth inning. He had 4 RBIs last night, and he comes up with his second tonight with this single into right center field. This scores Manny Lee, and the score's tied at 4. The score would become 5-5, and the game would go into extra innings, but in the bottom of the 11th, with Kevin Moss running from third base, Alvaro Espinosa chops a single over Tony Fernandez's head. The Yankees win 6-5. Greg Cadaret picks up the win. He's 5-4, and Jim Acker takes the loss. He's 2-3. And for the Yanks, that was their 4th straight win.
Back in the Yankee dugout as New York goes for win number 6 in a row versus Toronto Wednesday evening. Bottom of the second inning, and it's Alvaro Espinosa getting things started for New York. Facing John Cerruti, Espinosa with a deep drive into right field, badly misplayed by Junior Felix. Jim Leyritz allowed to score from second base, 1-0 New York. Next batter is Roberto Kelly, and Kelly will double off of Cerruti into right center field, picking up RBI number 45 as Espinosa scores on Kelly's 27th double of the year, 2-0 New York with the lead. A great defensive play in the top of the 4th inning by Yankee right fielder Jesse Barfield. Fred McGriff with this bad hop single into the right field corner. McGriff will take the turn and go for 2, but Barfield throws the BB and nails McGriff at second base. Watch this one again now. It takes a perfect throw from Barfield. This one doesn't even bounce going into second base as McGriff is nailed sliding into second. In the top of the 5th, Toronto would cut the lead to 2-1 on a Manny Lee sac fly. Then with 2 outs in the inning, Tony Fernandez picks up RBI number 51 as he slaps his single into center field, scoring on the play Greg Myers, and we are tied at 2. But in the bottom of the 5th, Roberto Kelly picks up his 7th hit of the series. He's now 7 for 12. This home run, number 11 on the year, a 2-run shot, RBIs 46 and 47, his 2nd and 3rd of the game as the Yankees take a 4-2 lead. Some Yankee fans bringing their fishing nets to the ball game, hoping to catch a foul ball. George Bell only able to use his glove. Does a good job with it in left field. Bottom of the 6th inning, a Jim Leyritz liner. Bell makes the catch and makes it look easy. Take a look at the replay. Not so easy of a catch. George Bell in left field. Things a little more difficult in the bullpen area where the keys were locked in the bullpen car. In the meantime, Junior Felix with his line out to shortstop while the workers continue to this time use a hanger trying to open the door. And then back to more baseball as Tony Fernandez will ground out unassisted to first base as the action would continue in the bullpen area where a hacksaw would have to be brought in as they finally get the car door open. Yankees still leading in this one 4-2 as they go to the 9th. More great defensive work in the Yankees outfield. This time it's Roberto Kelly in center field with the long-running catch off the Glenn Allen Hill shot. This was with Fred McGriff on first. McGriff has to go back to first as the Yankees hold on to the 4-2 lead. Roberto Kelly making the long, impressive running catch. Then with Andy Hawkins looking on, Dave Righetti with 2 outs will get Manny Lee to ground into the game ender. This to force out at second. Hawkins goes to 4-10. Cerruti dropping to 8-9. Righetti his 27th save. 4-2 Yanks.
4-game series. In the top of the 1st inning, Dave Steve starts out strong as he strikes out Ellis Burks to end the inning. Then in the bottom of the 1st, Toronto takes a 1-0 lead. Kelly Gruber hits a fly ball into right center field. The ball is caught out there by Burks, but Mookie Wilson scores from third base. So Toronto was ahead 1-0. For Gruber, that's RBI number 84. He is tied for 3rd in the American League in RBIs. Now we move on to the bottom of the 2nd inning where Tom Bolton settled down. He retired to side in order in the 2nd, and he picked up his first strikeout of the game as he gets Glenn Allen Hill looking. The game settled into a pitcher's duel with Dave Steve continuing to throw a shutout. Here in the top of the 4th inning, he strikes out Tom Brunansky on a fastball to end the inning. Then in the bottom of the 4th, we'll see Bolton picking up another strikeout as he gets Fred McGriff swinging. In the top of the 6th inning, Boston had runners on 1st and 2nd. You'll see Wade Boggs leading off of second base, and Kelly Gruber made a great play to save 1, possibly 2 runs as Tom Brunansky hit a line drive down to 3rd. Gruber makes a great diving play but can't double up Boggs at 2nd.
Then Mike Marshall came to the plate and knocks in Boggs anyway. As he lines a single into left field, Boggs scores from second, making the score 1-1, and that's how things stood in the sixth. In the bottom of the seventh inning, Toronto took a one-run lead. Mookie Wilson hit a single to right field that scored Glenn Allen Hill, making the score 2-1 Blue Jays. Then Tony Fernandez hit a ground rule double over the left center field wall. This scores Manny Lee, who was urging the ball to stay down so that another run could have scored. But Toronto then had a 3-1 lead. In the top of the eighth, Boston tied it up as Mike Greenwell hit a two-run shot to right field. This is his 9th home run of the year, and it gave him 47 RBIs. So the game was tied up at 3. Then in the bottom of the 9th inning, Joe Hesketh attempted to pick off Mookie Wilson at first base, but the throw got away and Wilson went all the way around to third base, so he was there with one out in the 9th. Then Kelly Gruber hit a ground ball down to third base. Wade Boggs threw home to try to get Wilson, but Wilson slid in safely, giving Toronto a 4-3 victory and pulling them to within one game of the Red Sox in the American League East. The final 4-3 Toronto, the winner Henke is 1-2, the loser Hesketh is 0-1.
Baseball action from Toronto, Ontario. We were looking at manager Joe Morgan as his Boston Red Sox start today with a 2-game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays. In the bottom of the second inning, George Bell with a foul ball off the inside part of his left knee. He's looked at by the trainer, and then he takes himself out of the ball game. Still in the bottom of the second inning, Roger Clemens pitching a fine ball game today. We'll get Fred McGriff to go down on strikes. For Roger Clemens, it was his second strikeout of the game as McGriff goes down on a check swing. This game would remain scoreless as we head into the top half of the fifth inning. And simply a beautiful day in the city of Toronto. And here Tony Pena will hit into a 6-4 force out at second base. Tony Fernandez with the reaching grab and the back flip to Manny Lee for the force out. Moving on now to the bottom half of the sixth inning, Tony Fernandez hits a ground ball to first base. Carlos Quintana with the diving stop, but the poor toss to first base. Roger Clemens reaches back and then makes a nice hook slide as he takes out Tony Fernandez at first base. As we take one more look at this fine play, Tony Fernandez would get up and he would be holding his right shoulder as he would bruise it on the play. Finally, in the top half of the seventh inning, the only run of the ball game will come when pitcher David Wells will make one mistake, and he gives it up to Dwight Evans as he hits a solo home run to left field. For Evans, it's home run number 12, RBI number 52. And the Red Sox take a 1-0 lead. As that run would hold up, as here in the bottom of the ninth inning, with the bases loaded, Roger Clemens will get Manny Lee to strike out on a 1-2 pitch. For strikeout number 6 for Clemens, as the Boston Red Sox win it by a score of 1-0. Roger Clemens is now 19-5. That was his 7th straight victory. David Wells with the loss. His record drops to 9-4. For Roger Clemens, it's his 4th shutout of the season, and Boston now leads the Toronto Blue Jays by 3 full games in the American League East. Once again, Boston 1, Toronto 0.
Sunday afternoon in Toronto, the Blue Jays are hosting the Boston Red Sox in the 4th game of that series. Toronto now can only get back to where they were before the series, that is 2 games back. They're down 2-1 in the series. In the bottom of the first, Greg Harris strikes out Kelly Gruber, who's hitless in his last 5 games. Harris struck out 2 in the first inning. Roger Clemens, yesterday's winner, is shown here filling the batting glove of Luis Rivera with sunflower seeds. Didn't seem like much of a joke. Rivera just has to dump the seeds out. Now in the top of the second inning, Todd Stottlemyre, who's also pitching well, gets Dwight Evans to ground out 3-1 to end the second inning. There's still no score in the game. In the bottom of the third inning, there was an unusual call as Manny Lee fouled a ball off of his leg, but home plate umpire Jim Evans ruled it was a fair ball and Lee was thrown out. The call stood after an argument from Cito Gaston. And first base umpire Dale Ford continues to have his problems. After a few questionable calls yesterday, he called Wade Boggs out on this ground ball. If you slow this down, you'll see that Boggs was in fact safe. He argued a bit with Ford, but to no avail. In the top of the 8th inning, Boston took a 1-0 lead. Jody Reed looped the single into center field. You see the bullpen there with the rally caps on as Reed hits a single into left center field that scores Tom Brunansky sliding. That made the score 1-0 Red Sox, and that turned out to be the final. Jeff Gray came on to finish things off for Boston. Here we'll see him striking out John Olerud to end the game.
The final 1-0 Boston. The winner Harris is 11-5. The loser Stottlemyre is 11-14. Gray picks up his 6th save as Boston shuts out Toronto for the 3rd straight time and goes 3 games up in the AL East.
Cleveland tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays were in town to take on the Cleveland Indians. In the bottom of the 4th inning in a scoreless tie, Felix Fermin came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs. He drilled this pitch into the left field corner, scoring both Chris James and Corey Snyder. On a bad relay home, Sandy Alomar Jr. came in to score, and Felix Fermin followed closely behind, giving the Cleveland Indians a 4-0 lead. Then in the top of the 5th inning, Mookie Wilson started the scoring for the Blue Jays with his single right back up the middle. For Mookie, RBI number 40, scoring Glenn Allen Hill. Then, the hero of the night, Luis Sojo, put this fly ball between Mitch Webster and Candy Maldonado. 2 runs scored, and for Sojo, a 5 RBI night after he came in for the injured Tony Fernandez. In the top of the 6th inning with the score 6-4 Toronto, Sojo hit this home run to left field, his first of the year, and his RBIs number 5, 6, and 7. After a Borders double made it 10-4 Toronto, Cleveland came back with a big inning of their own. Candy Maldonado capped a 4-run inning with a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 6th inning, his 18th of the year, and RBIs 74, 75, and 76. 10-8 Blue Jays. After 2 more Blue Jay runs, Tom Henke came in and closed the door in the 9th inning by getting Corey Snyder swinging. Blue Jays win 12-8. At 6th for Blue Jays, Luis Sojo came up and hit this 3-run home run to left field for his first home run of the season, RBIs number 5, 6, and 7, and the Jays went up 9-4 and added another run to make it 10-4 Jays in the 6th.